Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. Now, the new Raphael and Velzard have dropped in the game last night, and with it, they came with three other featured units, being the old Light 3.0 units, the Light Raphael, Light Milim, and Light Lumi. Down here, Raphael is still a fairly good unit, Milim is also fairly good, and Lumi is sadly that one sad unit that gets forsaken out of pretty much every meta. Sometimes two, sometimes all of them. But there's always one that kind of just doesn't hit like the others do. And I'm not talking in terms of damage, I'm talking in terms of usability moving forward in the game. So, she is sadly that unit. But they did get skill fusions, so right here, what's more, featured characters, excluding new characters, have a newly added skill fusion. Now, the funny thing about the skill fusion is that between the global and Japanese live stream / dev diary, they gave us different information. So here's the global version, and it says that Raphael's single target ult resistance down and then pierce rate up power is getting skill fused, Milim's orb convert is getting the skill fusion, and then Lumi's light attack is getting it. 60 to 70% light attack, 10% gauge gain to 20%, and then 50% ult resistance down to 60%. But if we look at the JP version, I know it's in Japanese, but these are not the same skills, because this is very clearly the guaranteed pierce and 40% stun strike, which is now up to, well, it's actually the same, but now it applies to all other World Legend or New Year's Blessing characters, which is all three of these plus the new meta units. Milim's skill is the 55.45% attack up for everybody and 30% light resistance down for one enemy, and now, or that's one turn, but now it's for all enemies instead of just a singular unit. So 45% attack up, 30% light resistance down for everybody, not just one target. And then Lumi goes from a 25 point to a 30 point. It's her orb change, her double green to double blue. It's now a triple green to triple blue. So, very obviously, two different skills have been shown as getting the skill fusion, but when we go into the actual game and we take a look at them, it is only the one skill. And it is the skill listed on the Japanese live stream. So, the global had this one, very clearly does not say fuse on it. So, let's go over the skill fusions as we all chuckle a little bit about the incompetence of global devs, and that intern probably got canned already, or has been thrown off the building a couple days ago. I don't really know. Rip the intern. But let's talk about it, and let's kind of go over why I think or do not think they are that useful, and why you should or should not do it. Now, again, for people who don't know what skill fusion is, it's taking an old skill and making it slightly better. Not amazingly better, but better than what it previously was. But the prerequisite is that it must be level 10, so it must be level max, and the unit must be level 100. And that is not negotiable. So, as I've said from the beginning, it's really shitty. I have skill fusing units that have minimal gains is not good when you limit it to people who have them level 100 already. It's good for people who just pulled them and need that little bit of extra power, because, like Guy right here, he has a skill fusion that I haven't done yet. It's seal defense up on for one turn, but if we skill fuse it, it then turns into a defense seal plus physical attack for fire allies. That would probably help a lot of new players with their fire team, but no. They have to be level 100. I guess we can start out with Milim, because I can't skill fuse her, because she's level 80. Yeah, she's all the way down here, so let's go back. Select forces. We'll go Other World Legend. And confirm, and yeah. I can't even do Lumi, technically, because she's not level 100, but Milim. Milim's skill fusion is the middle child, right? So, currently it's 45% attack, and then a single target's light resistance down by 30%. But when we skill fuse it, it now becomes all targets light resistance down. At level 1 it's 20, and then if you go up to level 10 it is the same 30%, but it is for everybody's light resistance. Now, this is a fairly decent skill, because with the advent of, turn-based Jubilees and a lot of beatdown battles being sometimes AoE focused, having an AoE light resistance down is a lot better overall. And it's the same cost as what it was before, it's just instead of being on one target, you get it on 3. So if you're in an AoE setting, if you do 1 million damage to everybody, but then you do like 1.3 million damage to randomly one person, or not randomly, but one person, yeah, you still probably killed them, but you could do 1.3 million to everybody now. Ooh, big numbers. And in a setting where you want big daddy damage or big mommy damage, that extra 300,000 damage is going to work really well and really boost your score. So this is, by all means, not a bad skill fusion. But even I, physically can't do it right now because she's not level 100. She's level 80, and I'm not going to feed a whole bunch of shards in her to get her up there. So we're going to live here. But if you have Milim at level 100, I think it's a fairly decent skill because everybody who is a light unit can benefit. Milim can benefit even more now because now she can hit everybody harder because she is an AoE ult. So I think it's a fairly good skill. Raphael is the main damage dealer of the Light 3.0 meta. So Raphael has a skill that makes her the DPS, right? The guaranteed stun and then own stun strike by 40%. So if they are stunned, you've been stacking stun strike with the Protector Shuna, and then you just add another 40% onto it. This guaranteed that Raphael always hit the hardest, no matter what. Because every buff you put on Valentine or somebody else is cool, but Raphael has that plus this extra 40%. So you're guaranteed to nuke harder with Raphael. Well, now, the skill fusion is everybody who is on New Year's Blessing or Otherworld Legend will get that stun strike, which is really good. Because you're realistically, if you're using Raphael and Shuna together, I mean, yeah, you can. And okay, so how to word this in a better way? This does open up possibilities, right? Because instead of being just herself, it is for other units. It is a limited amount of units because New Year's Blessing and Otherworld Legend are pretty much only these guys. I mean, let's open up to New Year's Blessing. We'll see if it actually adds any more characters in here. New Year's Blessing. It should be the fire units too. Yeah. Fire Milim. And Fire Shuna. Awesome. Congratulations. But it does add that stun strike capability onto the new Otherworld Legend units as well, which is fine. I'm not going to really be using them as in a DPS damage setting. They're AoE focused. They're one space. One is light, but they're green focused, for better or worse, and defense focused, not damage focused. But, I mean, you could put Fire Milim with it. You can give Fire Milim 40% stun strike. That'd be cool. And you put her with the Protector Shuna. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is 7 more units than what we originally had with Raphael just buffing herself. So, it's not a bad skill. It is just limited use. But if you're probably using Raphael, you're probably either using her as the DPS, in which case, cool, whatever. You're going to do it anyways, and now you can have your Lumi and your Milim hit harder, or you're using it as more of a support setting where you just want the ult resistance down and you want the pierce and you want the stun, of which case then the stun strike really doesn't matter that much, because you're not using Raphael to actually do damage. You're using her as a support to do other things for a different nuker. So, again, it's not a bad skill. It is just limited in its usage. Just like Milim is limited in its usage because you're not always going to have a light DPS who's going to be an AoE unit for every specific stage you want to take on. It's only for certain stages, certain units, certain settings, certain teams, etc. So they're both, I would give them on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give Milim's buff like in 8. And I would give Raphael's a 7 because it is more limited than Milim. There are a lot more light units than are Otherworld Legend and New Year's Blessing. And then we come to Lumi. And Lumi has the same skill fusion as Water Shuna, and I hate it. because it turns her double orb change into a triple orb change. And some people will be like, but Joker, that's pretty good. She's a triple orb changer. It's like, yes, that's great. It also costs 5 more points at 30, which some people are going to be like, it's only 5 points, man. Get over it. And to yes, I would say, yeah, it's only 5 points. But when you're counting points and you're using so many skills and so many turns to get a full hand of blues, to use a bunch of buffs, to do other things, you really have to start counting points if you're trying to, play big brain. If you're in Jubilee, if you're in some raid event, if you're trying to clear a very, very hard beatdown battle, every point counts. And there are not a lot of times that I need a triple green orb changer. I would need Guy with his 2 green and 1 orange, which is infinitely more useful because it eliminates a lot of RNG. Because Lumi, if I have 2 greens and an orange, okay, well, I'm still just going to change 2 greens, and that orange is just going to sit there. And it's the same cost as Guy, or it's the same cost as Megumin's orb change. I very, very rarely need 3 greens converted. Or for Water Shuna, rarely need 3 oranges converted. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen ever, because it does happen. But the reality is that I generally don't need it. I only need the double, of which case I would rather have the skill remain cheap for less orb changing to suit my needs, because I would have probably Shuna and Lumi together on a team to do the orb changing, and then I would have, the light Milim who could come in and steal that orange and convert it herself, and then we're still covered. So I don't like Lumi's orb change. I don't like Water Shuna's orb change. Where is she? All the way down here. I don't like these triple converts that are not like 2 and 1. Right? I don't like the straight 3s because I very rarely use it. So I would give Lumi's skill fusion like a 5. Can it be useful? Sure. Do I recommend that people do it? Not really, no. Because I specifically want Shuna because she is a cheaper version of Guy and Megumin, right? 70% alt buff for 55 points versus an 80% alt buff and some other side effect for 80 points, all right? 15 points more. That makes a difference when you're counting points. The triple orb change for these two is much more useful in most settings than a straight up 3 and 3 because you're most of the time guaranteed to have not 3 and 3. So I am okay with their skill cost being 30 because they cover multiple scenarios. I don't want this skill costing 30 when I'm, again, counting points and trying to make everything work. And it's just, I think, unnecessary. And we'll go down to Lumi because she's the actual unit that we're talking about. It's just unnecessary most of the time. But again, there are certain scenarios that can work out in the skill's favor, of which case then people are going to be like, blah, 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 it worked for me. And it's like, that's great. It's your own account, man. You can skill fuse whatever you want. But if you were to ask me, do I recommend it? I would say no. So, out of all the 3 new skill fusions for Otherworld Legend units, I would prioritize probably Milim first, then Raphael, and far, far, far away down the line, when you have everything, I would do Valentine. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. That's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.